What do you do in your life at the moment that's flipping hard? I'm not talking about work and things like that. I'm talking about what are you doing that's difficult? Spare time, hobby, whatever.
It's an easy one for me to answer. As you know, a couple of months ago, I got this idea in my head that I thought it'd be cool to learn how to play guitar. And it's something that's always fascinated me, but I've never had the inclination or never really thought that I've had any musical ability in me. But yeah, I got this idea, and my dad actually talked me into it, and he said, if you want to learn, just go and get a guitar
and start.
And so what? That's been about 5 or 6 months into it.
Okay.
And it's one of the most difficult things I've ever tried to do.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's cool. That learning how to play guitar actually, whilst you've got 2 small kids in the house,
there's a challenge on its own.
It's actually exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. But now I'm gonna throw a spanner in the works for you now. You enjoy playing the guitar.
Yeah. You
enjoy the process. You obviously sit there and you're in the moment, you dig it.
Yeah,
it's
the
cool.
learning, it's quite it's such a nice distraction from
everything else.
Everything else, yeah.
But you need something else that you don't enjoy. That must suck. It must be shit.
Yeah.
You need something that is hard that you don't want to do.
And that sucks.
Well,
doesn't it?
It's not that it sucks. It sucks doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm having a conversation here. Okay, I'm throwing it at you there.
Okay.
So we do things like you want to read something. The process of actually sitting down and reading something is actually cool, and at the end of it, you've learned something and you've read a book and whatever it might be. Playing guitar, you're learning this new skill. It's awesome, legit. But you got to do something as well that sucks.
Yeah.
Can I explain why?
Yeah. No, you got my attention now.
Okay. So every now and again, life comes along and it throws things at you that are difficult, that you have to deal with all the time. We deal with these things on a daily basis. If you do something and you consciously do something every day, every week, whatever it might be, that's difficult that you don't want to do. Start with something basic. So I'm not saying you must go and do something like don't learn the guitar, go and do something you don't want to do. That's not what I'm saying. But as an example, in the morning when you go and have a shower, why don't you have a cold shower?
Oh, I do that.
Okay.
Often, yeah.
Okay. So every night, and you have a cold shower. Why? Why do you have a cold shower?
Well, most of all, because I like the way that it wakes you up.
Mm-hmm.
And the second reason is most of the time we haven't had electricity, so I'm forced to.
But is it not that the way you feel afterwards is what you like, not necessarily the
no, of course.
So it's how you feel afterwards. Okay. So if you start with something like that, obviously it has long-term benefits. Have a flipping cold shower. It's got long-term health benefits as well. But you also don't want to do it. My well-documented jiu-jitsu journey is a difficult one. It's not easy. It actually sucks. At 7 o'clock at night, the last thing you want to go and do is get beaten up. But 5 minutes in, you're kind of into it, and it's noticeably hard. It's really, really hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Like genuine. It really is. But afterwards, you feel kind of good. But something else starts to happen, and I'm not acting like a expert at this, but I have, and I know you have as well, been listening to a lot of good, great people, the likes of Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan and David Goggins and these guys, and they talk about this all the time. And when I used to hear it, I used to I understand that, but then kind of move on until I started the whole jiu-jitsu thing. Because what happens, Ryan, you go home afterwards and you're a bit sore, your elbows graze, your skin off your knees off, and you kind of think, I got a bit sort of nailed tonight. And then, but then when you sort of, settle down a bit, every week, those little sore things or those little niggles or those things that kind of make you soft, they start to fade a little bit. But something else happens. when you do difficult things, the things that come along that ordinarily would be difficult become much easier to handle. And that was the key. That's the key. So I'm not saying don't go learn the guitar, don't go fly your aircraft on the weekend, but have something, doesn't matter what it is or how big or how small, that is difficult and you don't actually want to do it. That's the key. You must not want to do it. But then when you start doing it, there's this whole body-mind thing as well. Your mind is in charge because it's like, I'm not negotiating with my body. I am going to go and do this thing. And you start to get a bit of momentum with it. This week for me was a slightly different one, but it was handled very differently to how I would have handled it 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm pretty sure it's because I put a bit of effort into sort of associating with the more difficult things in life and having a bit more of a combative type of internal attitude. And it makes the external things a bit easier.
100%. Look, I couldn't agree more. You're 100% right on that subject, guys. I mean, while you were talking, I was thinking about what's happened over the last 3 years. If you think about the resilience that has had to come about
on a personal level.
Exactly. Recovering from this whole, pandemic, not flying anything, and the things the choices that you've now made, they aren't always the easiest thing. It's not actually easy to actually say, well, I'm going to work a whole lot harder, but for other reasons. Mm-hmm. And the more you get into certain things, like you say, it does get easier and it does make you more resilient. So, I 100% agree.
Have you 100% gotten over the fact that you are not in an aircraft anymore? I'll tell you why. Yesterday on Facebook, some people might have seen I posted. I did that flight to Mthatha when we flew Miss Universe back in 2000 and when was it? Early 2020.
Yeah.
And that was one of my last flights. I think I had one flight with you a week or so after that, right. And then that was pretty much it. Watching that video, you start to think, hey, but I was good at that. That was my role and I was good at that. Yeah. But when I look at it now, I think it's quite far removed from the life I live now. And I think a lot of aviators, whether they're current aviators or ex-aviators, are going through that same sort of thing. This whole process of shifting from one thing to another. We maybe were a bit light on it at the beginning. We said, you have to adapt and, all these fancy words, transferable skills and all that came in and you must, shift to another industry, use your skills. Not that easy because your identity, your skill set, everything's attached to doing what you're doing and you become very good at it. You can't just shift across somewhere else. You can do your best, but it takes an element of time. Now, I start talking to you now about doing difficult things and things like this. And I only really now feel like I'm at a stage where I have moved out of that original life.
Yes.
I loved the flying. It was awesome. I mean, some of those flights you and I did together, flipping fantastic. I'll always remember those. But it was a past sort of life, and now you're moving into this next stage. And I just wonder how many pilots are out there, same sort of thing. I know a lot of guys went into different fields, and I'm sure there's a lot of this, like, Facebook, if it's good for anything, it's those memories that pop up. You say, shit, that was a cool time.
Yeah.
So it just got me thinking a little bit, and if there's been a couple of things that have aided me or assisted me in being able to make that shift, were two things. One, do difficult things. I discovered it quite late. Like I said, Goggins, Jocko, all these guys talk about it all the time. But I didn't take action on that thing. Only recently I've started to understand the benefits of that. And it becomes quite addictive because you see you feel the benefits and then you say, well, this is actually helping. So I'm definitely going to carry on doing it. And the other one, Ryan, and I think the one even more important, is switching a negative into a positive.
Oh, yes.
Staying with Jocko, my old man does this all the time. It doesn't matter what happens. He always says good.
Yes.
He always, Jocko's whole video with the whole good thing. But my old man's the same. He always says good. Whatever happens, good. There's always a positive to it.
Yeah.
Most people can't see it. They always see the negative and they stick to the negative side. And obviously, if you can shift it around to the positive, what happens in your mind? You end up with this clarity of mind. If you have negative thoughts, finance, something going on in your relationship, whatever it is, it sticks in your mind and you can't think clearly. But if you have a positive thought, something good happens, your kid does well at school or something, you're proud, it goes in your mind and it goes out your mind. You've got this clarity of thoughts. These good thoughts don't necessarily linger in your mind for that long. So when something negative comes along, you got to find the positive of it. You shift it around and then you end up with this clarity of mind, clarity of thought. Those two things for me have helped me shift across from sort of a previous life doing, the things we used to now. And I feel like a much more sort of equipped, capable, combative, whatever you want, person these days. Those two things for me, key. This is an aviation podcast, so let's get to it.
100%.
Story of the week.
Yeah. So
some new tech in the aviation field. Have you had a squiz at a couple of things that are out, Ryan? Shark skin on aircraft fuselages.
Yeah,
have you seen this? Huh? So you start reading this thing. This crowd is called the Aero Shark surface technology, which mimics shark skin for better fuel consumption savings. So Lufthansa Technik, they're working on this. It's already been done with Swiss on their 777. So it's this sort of shark skin technology. You know, you see Michael Phelps and these like swimming in the Olympics, like wearing those shark skin suits. Same thing. Big money investment, a lot of tech. How much fuel saving do you think it gives?
Jeez, I don't know. What's the magic number?
1%.
Seriously?
1%.
I was going to go with 20%.
Those are the margins that we're talking about in the aviation sector.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, eh?
Hectic,
so you actually come up with this massive technology for a 1% saving, and it's that 1% is making such a big difference that it's inevitable. This shark skin technology is going to start finding its way onto a lot more aircraft.
It's amazing, eh?
Pretty wild, eh? I thought. Airbus, they're using some high-performance computing to design the aircraft of the future. So they're looking for, again, these little incremental gains. And the whole thing here is they're understanding how air moves over complex shapes. So if you have a wing in a wind tunnel, pretty obvious. You can see the vortices. You can see where the sense of pressure, gravity, all the rest is. But what about around all those other little areas that aren't designed to create lift? So they use these complex fluid dynamics to actually work out what's going to happen to the air. Again, the saving on the fuel is minimal, but if you add up all the flights and you add up, it's going to make a difference with the fuel price these days.
That's for sure.
So quite interesting there. Shifting to Boeing. Have you had a look at that truss-braced design wing?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that
doesn't look cool.
You know what they say? If it looks good, it flies good. I don't know. I think that thing's going to fly like a dog. I was way much more of a fan of their blended wing Boeing design. You know, that whole like
so there it is.
Oversize. Yeah, no, I don't like it. Yeah,
not a fan.
Not a fan. No, right. Looks too like Antonovish.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, so Boeing have gone and bought 3 MD-90s for this program. So this whole thing is sponsored by, or it's NASA. Okay, so NASA, obviously government. Biden has given NASA this project, and of course NASA have given it across to Boeing to help develop it. So it's called the Sustainable Flight Demonstrator, this machine. So they bought 3 MD-90s, and the plan is they're going to shorten it, and then they're going to start trialing these sort of strange-looking wings on the aircraft.
Interesting.
Yeah, how much fuel do you think this is going to save?
2%?
9%. So this is pretty major. If you think about 1% for that shark skin technology, and then you're going to 9%, it's actually quite a lot.
Sure thing.
Yeah, so you're going to see a few of these things flying around. A very, very fancy wing. They're obviously using the MD-90. The root of that wing on that aircraft must be incredibly strong.
Yes.
So that's obviously where that truss
will come down
and that truss is going to create lift. It's not just a Cessna 172 truss. It's a lift generating truss.
I wonder if they'll chuck other gizmos in there, or make it like a fuel tank of some sorts as well.
Well, yeah, I suppose. I don't know. It's going to have to be incredibly strong because it looks like it doesn't look like a normal wing. It's pretty odd. But Airbus have this X-wing program, which is their own thing, and of course Boeing going in this direction. So the interesting thing with Boeing, and I think why this might actually work, Boeing are not producing any new aircraft this decade.
Yeah.
The MAX is it. So they stuck with the MAX till 230. That's it. So Boeing not coming out with anything new. But they're concentrating on this design. So this isn't like a if, but, or maybe. This is going to happen because if it doesn't work, they're left with kind of nothing in the end. So Boeing seeing this as an opportunity to not produce an aircraft this decade, but to produce something that's going to take things to the next level. So Airbus might produce 1 or 2 more aircraft, but could be regarded as an older gen aircraft by the time 230 comes around. And if you think about it, 230 is actually just around the corner.
Yeah, it's not far away. I mean, 7 years to go, and it still fascinates me that they going along those designs. I mean, what happened to the whole idea of supersonic travel? There was a big shift towards that. Trying to combat these ultra long haul flights.
You know what the problem is with that, though, Ryan? You can fly supersonic over the ocean, but you're going to design this aircraft, and then for short periods of time, ultimately it can be supersonic. It worked for the Concorde across the pond there.
Yeah.
But it only really flew there. I mean, it did fly to other destinations, but that was the main route. If you look at an aircraft that is going to fly to multiple routes, be able to take off on any runway, is it really going to work? I don't think so. There's that, what's it called, that boom?
Yeah, the boom supersonic.
Which I think United have put a big investment in that. But anyway, my money's on this one. If you look at what Boeing are doing and the constant, even this move of buying the MD-90s and starting to play around with them, cutting them and making them look a bit shorter and fatter with these.
Yeah, they're pretty serious about it.
They're pretty serious about it. So it's going to be here for time to come. Interested to hear what people think about it. They're going to put some sort of modern engines on this MD-90 as well. So they have some geared turbofans or something from Pratt & Whitney. And
it's cool.
We'll see what happens. Big fuel savings, all about fuel.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the price of fuel nowadays, that's where the focus is there.
It is.
Yeah, lowering the fuel price or saving money on fuel and crew.
Yeah.
The crew thing they're not going to get away with.
No. But fuel, that's what it's all about. Next story. Airbus and Qatar settle their dispute over the A350 paint issue.
Finally.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's been a 3-4 year saga.
Yeah, they've come to an agreement, and the settlement terms are not available to the public, but they did agree, and it must be, I think it's working for both parties here because Qatar obviously are going to need Airbus aircraft going forward as part of their growth plan. And with the way things were going, it looked like at one stage they were never going to be purchasing a Airbus again. So this is kind of good.
Yeah, it sounds like it ended up being a fairly amicable deal between the two parties. I think it did say here, though, that it is worth noting, I think this comes from Simple Flying, that as a result of this dispute, Airbus had unilaterally cancelled Qatar Airways' all outstanding aircraft orders, including for 50 A321neo aircraft, forcing the airline to look at alternatives at short notice in order to stick to its planned growth program. So
it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, look,
but it's
stretching the imagination. But
at least that dispute's sorted out.
Yeah,
Airbus is too big, and Qatar is too big of an airline for them to not have involvement.
Yeah, exactly. So nice that they've managed to square that one away.
That's sorted out. FedEx and Southwest, they nearly had in Austin, a close call.
Yeah.
U.S. aviation authorities investigating an incident on Austin February 4. Southwest Airlines jet cleared for takeoff as a FedEx cargo jet was landing on the same runway. Descended as low as 150 feet before breaking off its approach due to traffic on the runway.
Yeah, I read the article. They said low visibility was to blame there.
Doesn't sound like much of a story, though.
No, look at it.
Like a bit of a non-event.
Incursion, and it's a go around, and look,
150-foot go around is a normal sort of cat. Yeah,
would have been way more interesting if they'd actually touched down.
Yeah,
and knocked it out.
It's the normal Cat 1 go around, and you on your way, and bit of a non-event.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like it's I think what freaks everyone out, especially there in the States, is that it's the second type of near collision miss in a very short space of time. So Americans better get to the root of that.
I wonder how many times these things happened in the past.
We just didn't know about it.
We just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't all the stories that come out.
Probably did. Yeah, social media, man, just can can blow things out really quickly.
Yeah. So a battery pack, another one, erupts on a flight to United flight. 4 people hospitalized. There's lithium ion battery packs catching on fire. It's a bit of a problem, eh?
No, because it's what was it? It was a couple of weeks ago. Same thing. It was also a battery pack, was it? I think. Let's pull up the article. But yeah. Not cool.
Not cool. A guy speaking on the TV reckons, well, the problem with it is, with these battery packs, is they're so that, these battery packs are quite thin, very difficult to get inside. So when that sparking and that heat starts to happen, you can't exactly stick a fire extinguisher in there. You can't open them up. And a lot of the time, what it looks like, a lot of these things get punctured. So they're in someone's bag or something. Someone puts a bag on top of something sharp, and it punctures this battery pack and causes a fire. It's a bit of a problem. They think that the battery pack belonged to the person the battery pack belonged to. That there could be some criminal charges laid against them.
That's crazy.
So think about it before you just take one on board an aircraft.
Well, it won't be long before you, that dangerous goods list that you get when you check in is just going to be expanded. Make sure you don't have any gels, waters, liquids, battery packs, earphones, deodorants, just about anything.
Yeah.
Clothes.
Yeah. It's a really bit of a joke, but you think with something, it's got all these gels and that you can't take on hair gel, but battery packs are catching on fire and you're allowed to take them on. It seems a little bit counterintuitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was in the seat back of a first class seat.
Oh, first class as well.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh.
Who's growing at a rapid rate is our friends from Astral.
They are. They're not taking any nonsense.
No.
Guys are expanding.
They've just signed a deal with Kenya Airways Cargo, and this just after signing an MOU with Etihad Cargo as well. And they're a good bunch of guys.
Wonderful. We've trained a bunch of them here for the crowd that fly the MDs in Kenya. Yeah, no, super guys.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, no, it looks like a great outfit.
Yeah. Some local news, Paul.
Well, on that news of what guys partnering up, the biggest news this week to emerge was the codeshare agreement between British Airways and Airlink.
How's that, eh?
Massive.
Major.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously BA were still in search of a partner since Comair closed down.
So I want to talk about that. Does that mean now that they've kind of written off the possibility that someone else would take over that deal? That sort of Comair franchise deal?
Of course,
which to me doesn't make any sense anyway.
No, exactly.
And they've partnered with Link, obviously, in this case, and it's a proper code share. It's not, what's the other one,
not
Interline?
An Interline agreement. No, they've gone the full hog. And I mean, they would be stupid to not try and wait around for some idiot to resurrect Comair. It's the same as anyone waiting for SA Express to be resurrected, or Mango for that instance. Not going to happen.
Yeah, not going to happen.
No, they're all about business, getting things done. So they've teed up with Airlink, and great partnership. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, the connectivity now is
18 destinations available on the code share agreement. That includes, of course, places like Skukuza and things like that. That might be very lucrative for the British Airways traveling public, that you can, it's a nice option.
Yeah.
Quick little stop there in Joburg, and then off to the game farm on basically one ticket.
I think it's a clever move from Roger Foster as well, because the question was asked a while ago, so when do we think that Airlink are going to be, moving into the long haul space?
Yeah.
Because the rate that they've been growing and expanding, and the aircraft and the gauge that they're operating, everything was pointing towards, obviously coupled to the need that South Africa needs a long haul carrier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with these kinds of partnerships in place, they actually don't need to do that.
No.
Huh?
You don't. And it would probably be detrimental to their business model if they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure the margins are, obviously never looked at it, but I'm sure the margins on the overseas stuff must be ridiculously small.
Exactly.
When you're competing with big players.
Yeah.
Yeah. The travel agents in South Africa picked the most loved airline. Any guesses for the South African touring public? Yeah.
I hadn't read that one yet, but I'm going to stab a guess at it, and it has to be FlySafair.
No.
Huh?
No.
No ways.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Airlink.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Not surprised.
34% of the ballots. FlySafair, Lift, SA, and Seme split the rest.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Airlink, people really do enjoy flying with them. And said it on the show before, when you're flying on those, particularly those new E-jets and that with the that layout of cabin, 2x2, man, it makes a big difference from the fluffy 3x3s.
Yeah,
and people like it. The service,
as well as the on-time performance that they've got at the moment.
But this is it. I mean, isn't it? It's all about these things today. So you're on time, and you've got this sort of product that feels premium.
Yes,
it feels like a premium product, and these days it's all about those little extras, the good food, things like that. Their service is excellent, and you nailed it there with the on time. All makes a difference, and that's why they the most loved airline in South Africa.
On that subject, you know what was quite cool to see? Was it a week or two ago? They're leasing in a 737. Was it a 300 or 400? I think as well.
Yeah,
from Star.
It looks cool. They've got the Airlink tail
colors.
Looks very nice. Yeah.
It's actually quite cool to see that. I mean, this is one of those things. Obviously, it's more appealing to us as aviators. You notice that kind of thing, and man, it's obviously a sign of bigger and better things to come their way, I suppose.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Going to another local carrier, Lyft is expanding their seat capacity by 305% to roughly 1.5 million seats this year.
They're getting more areas.
Yeah, more aircraft, and obviously, I think 4 more aircraft actually. And they've got this flexible capacity concept, so they can bring those aircraft in, they can see if it works, and if it doesn't work, they take them out. It's a very good business model for an airline these days.
Yeah.
And they had a really good, as well, article goes on to say, very, very strong December, January. So they're going places. If you think back to when we first mentioned them on the show, how quickly they got up and running, and where they are today, they're a proper airline.
No, it's true. It's funny how the South African aviation, the airline landscape has changed in a short space of time.
It's crazy, yeah.
I was in the classroom the other day with a bunch of guys, and I was telling him, we were talking about something about leveling off after takeoff, due traffic, whatever. And I said, I can remember it happening to me one day out of George, where we got airborne, and then there was Come, and there was Mango, and there was Airlink, and we were all like, flying into George at the same time, and it was a bit of chaos to fight for a flight level.
Yeah.
And it's totally different now. Eh?
Yep.
Nowadays, it's Link, Seme, Safair, Lyft.
But they also all the airlines that you're speaking about there, okay, Lyft a little bit smaller, but you look at the size of Seme.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're big, man. That's a big airline. I mean, you compare it to your old carrier at the end. I mean, hardly operating any aircraft, and you didn't regard it as a small company. Now you look at airline like Seme operating a hell of a lot more aircraft. I mean, they close up 17 aircraft or something.
Seriously, that many?
Yeah, it's crazy. They're really growing and at a rapid rate. And you compare that to just spoken about Airlink, and we haven't even mentioned Safair.
Yeah.
I mean, Safair have absorbed that whole Comair market, that whole Mango market.
Yeah.
And they're cooking. I mean, they're really, really doing a good job as well.
I read earlier this week that they're getting another 3 Aries very soon. I mean, they're hiring guys left, right, and center. So
are they still hiring now?
I believe they are. Yeah. There was rumor that things had been paused because they were waiting for these other aircraft to arrive, but it sounds like that's sort of back in the swing of things.
Okay.
And look, at this stage, no one can afford to stand still.
No.
You know,
You got to grow.
you got to grow. And
Well, if you
I just love
don't,
it because
someone
it's-
else is just going to take that,
Exactly.
that market share.
yeah, no, it's creating a good energy.
There
in
is a
this-
good energy.
in this industry here at the moment. So
The
it's cool.
South African aviation industry at the moment is an industry we can all actually be really proud of. The way the likes, and you mentioned them again, but the likes of Seme, if you go back 4 years and you look where they are now, even Airlink, you forget. Airlink was a shadow. I mean, going back a few years, you would never have considered that they would be where they are today.
Yeah,
Safair, when they started, Safair was minute.
yeah.
Basic aircraft, basic color scheme, didn't really know much about them. It was a bit of like an afterthought. Would they be able to compete? Look at them now.
Yeah. No, look, the
It's a
guys,
success story on its own, man.
100%. They've all taken full advantage of, the way things have changed in the last 2-3 years. So much so that, I mean, the national government carrier sponsored subsidy version to whatever. No, I don't
Don't mention
want
the
to
name.
give them a name, but we all know who they are. But I mean, they're a skeleton.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, you don't really.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's also because before you had limited options of who you were going to fly with. Now there just seems to be multiple options. I haven't flown with Lyft yet. I want to really go and do a flight with Lyft and see what it's like. But the reality is, whether you're flying Lyft, Safair, Airlink, or Seme, there are very few negative things certainly on the internet about those airlines. Everyone sort of a lot of positive reviews on all of them. I had a bit of a look last night to see, and it generally is very, very positive.
Yeah.
So everyone, South African aviation in a good space at the moment. Emirates, they're doubling down on the Cape Town route. So February the 1st, carrier introduces second daily flight from Cape Town, EK773. That'll depart at 13:25 local. You'll be sweating your balls off in Dubai 8 hours later. And that service operated by Boeing 777. And then on the negative side, I suppose, they have halved the A380 schedule to Johannesburg.
Yeah. It's obviously an indication of where people would prefer to travel. And we've spoken about it before. I mean, Cape Town, I don't know, it's definitely becoming the hub.
Yeah. Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 380 is always nice to see flying in here. It adds something.
It was actually yesterday I was driving home from work and we just had a massive thunderstorm. As I got onto the highway, I was driving northbound and that 380 broke cloud in front of me. And it was, I'm driving. It was really difficult to concentrate on the road and still really enjoy that sight, that big bird on finals. It was really cool. No, I'll never get tired of that. That's for sure.
I hope they don't stop it from coming to Johannesburg altogether.
No, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will. There's a Russian airline that will be flying to South Africa. Say will be planning to.
Yeah.
Direct flights from Moscow to OR.
So there's been a lot of activity in that arena.
Is this not the same crowd that was starting up here and now they...
I actually wondered about that. I still thought, is it them? I don't know. I don't think so.
So they say this crowd's name is Nordwind.
Yeah.
And I want to ask, how can they fly here? So the aircraft that they'll be using will be I assume, 777 or something like that. The pictures of what they've got on the net are all 777s from what I can see. They can't service those aircraft with Boeing parts because Boeing are not supplying them with parts.
Yeah.
So how can you operate that to another ICAO abiding
But are
country?
We? The question is, I mean, I've seen an Illusion 76 bombing in and out of Waterkloof quite often.
But the Illusion 76 has got you can get the parts.
Yeah.
The parts are available, but
I'm not worried about the airplane. I'm worried about who's in the area and who's getting transported in and out of Gupta Gate.
Yeah.
So what's behind the scenes?
Well, you never know. There's always something going on in South Africa. But nonetheless, so keep an eye on this one. So if you're interested in going to Moscow for a little holiday, then Nordwind is your place to start.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to get to our little topic of discussion, the Bryan advisory. I thought we'd chat about the MEL this week, pal. Instead of making it boring for you, because I know you lecture about this in the class.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a look at a little quiz that I saw that popped up on the net the other day.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll see if it's available to us. Yeah, you can play around with it.
So
why would someone use an MEL? So to anyone new in the industry that's coming up and talking about last week, we spoke about the QRH. This week, the MEL. You'd use the QRH, Ryan, in the air.
Yes.
Okay, or after chocks or something like that. When would you use the MEL? So
the MEL is obviously there to tell you whether you can or cannot dispatch. Tells you if there's an item that's broken, do you need it to fly or not? That coupled to the CDL, configuration deviation list, which forms part of that, I suppose. So yeah, mainly on the ground. I do,
and it's something you reference quite a lot.
Yeah. It must be considered when you're in the air, though. I mean, particularly if you're flying over Africa and you're going to a destination that you don't particularly want to be stuck at. The MEL is worth keeping in the back of your mind. Like, would that allow me to
dispatch when I get there? Okay, but ultimately, what we're talking about here, if you've got the QRH, it's something malfunctions while you're in the air or after chocks, you reference the QRH first. If you arrive at the aircraft for a particular flight and you open the tech log and it says the APU is unserviceable and it's got a dispatch number there, you can have a look in the MEL and it will give you an operational requirement, what you need to do as the operating crew, and also what the technicians need to do as maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. So quite a simple thing. You've got different categories in there, that's different time limits. So, of course, you can get extensions on those. Go back to SA Express days. Every time something broke, the minute before midnight on the last day, an extension would come through for another 10 days. And then on that 10th day, a minute before midnight, they would have fixed the actual part.
Or they would have just swapped it out with another one.
Yeah.
And then
stolen it from another aircraft.
The snag would transfer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's basically the logic behind the MEL. And, of course, modern airliners these days, a huge amount of redundancy. So you don't have to fly with all those components serviceable. And for the non-flying public or the non-aviator public, the people that just enjoy the travel side of things, you do fly quite a lot with an operative equipment. Very rarely do you get in a 121 airliner these days, or certainly the ones I've flown with, nothing wrong, particularly when you're flying a slightly older generation aircraft. You tend to have one or two things that might not be working. And, of course, they document it correctly, and the manufacturer says you can dispatch because there's redundancy on that component, but there'll be certain limitations applied.
Exactly.
Easy as that. But let's go. Testing you, Ryan.
Okay, cool.
When are commercial planes permitted to fly with inoperative equipment?
Okay, so the options, those are the options there. When a plane is allowed to operate without working auxiliary power unit, APU.
Yeah. So when is a plane allowed to operate without a working APU?
Okay, so the options
anytime during the day, or an aircraft cannot operate without a missing APU.
An APU is not a showstopper.
No.
You can go without an APU.
Should we say anytime?
But,
let's
obviously.
try correct.
There we go.
Next one. Can a commercial aircraft continue its flights if its landing gear fails to retract after takeoff? No, it should immediately return to the airport of departure. No, it will need to find an alternate airport to land. Yes, but some flight limitations would be applied. This is what you were talking about earlier. Can a commercial aircraft continue its flight if its landing gear fails to retract after takeoff?
It's an interesting question because it's all circumstantial.
Okay, I'd say for the sake of what we're talking about on MELs and QRHs, yes, but some flight limitations would be applied.
That's the answer I was going for.
Should we try?
Yeah, let's try that.
A for
jeez.
killing it, yeah. Is a commercial plane allowed to fly without properly working windshield wipers? It depends on the weather forecast. Only when an equivalent efficient system is installed, or yes?
I'm going to say it depends on the weather forecast. Because you can...
You reckon? Either that or only when an equivalent efficient system is installed.
You're going to have at least 2 windshield wipers, and perhaps one would be allowed to be an operative. So, yeah.
What do you think? This one...
only when an equivalent efficient system is installed. Let's go with that one.
Hey! I wasn't sure about that one.
Yeah.
Is an airline allowed to operate a passenger flight when some no smoking signs are not working in the cabin? Yes, it can, but some passenger seating limitations will need to be applied. Aircraft can serve flights if only one no smoking sign is inoperative. If other cabin signs, including fasten seatbelt signs or return to cabin work, the non-smoking sign is not necessary. I'd say A. Yes, it can, but some passenger seating limitations will need to be applied.
I agree.
Happy.
So far, 100%.
What does the term master minimum equipment list mean?
Okay, so the options are a list of onboard systems, instruments, and equipment that may be inoperative for flight in a specified aircraft model. No. A document used by pilots to report inoperative equipment during flight.
No.
A document specific to every aircraft which details the maintenance status of that aircraft.
Bit vague on this one.
Yeah, because
this maybe not. This one, first one.
A.
Is a passenger plane allowed to operate flights when its supplemental oxygen system does not work in the cabin? There is no way a passenger plane can serve flights without a pressurized cabin. Flights can be performed with a maximum of 50 packs. Flights can be performed with some altitude limitations.
I'd go with C. Yeah.
Is it legal for an airline to operate an aircraft when some of its drop-down oxygen masks do not work properly? No, it's strictly forbidden. Yes, if affected seats are blocked. Yes, the cabin crew will assist the passengers with portable first aid. Seats are blocked.
Yeah, let's go with that one. Gee whiz. Getting too good at this, man.
Is a commercial aircraft allowed to fly passengers if the flight crew compartment door locking system is deactivated? Yes, but passengers will be reseated to the rear side of the aircraft cabin. Yes, if cabin crew members provide a special safety briefing for passengers seated in the front of the cabin. Yes, but alternate crew procedures will be established to control access to the flight crew compartment. C. Nailing it. When's an aircraft permitted to fly passengers without a medical aid kit? When the flight is considered short haul, when at least one cabin crew member, passenger, or flight has his or her medical kit in hand luggage compartment? None of the above. None
of the above.
When is it forbidden to operate a commercial plane if the cabin is not equipped with a megaphone? When aircraft seating capacity exceeds 60 packs, when the plane carries more than 99 packs, only when the aircraft has more than 199 passengers.
A. I'm going to go with A.
I'll go with A as well. That's it. Jeez. 10 out of 10, bro.
Hey? How's that?
We killed it. Well, I thought it was good because if you don't know what an MEL is, those are the type of questions that are applicable to it.
Exactly.
So, if you're just in flight school and you know, looking at these things, and like we mentioned last week, so easy now to go from flight school, get yourself into a proper airline relatively quickly. You're going to be working with these documents on a daily basis. So it's nice to know what they are up ahead of time.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, in flight school, they're trying to get you, genned up on everything that's flying related and important. They don't concentrate on stuff like this at flight school.
No, they don't.
You only really get confronted with MELs and CDLs and QRHs and all the paperwork related side of things when you join, a formidable size operation with bigger aircraft that needs this kind of stuff. So, I love this topic because, I mean, it's very relevant, and at least now it paints a bit of or sheds a bit of light rather on what this is and where it's relevant.
Yeah. I think that was pretty good.
I enjoyed that.
All right. What are you doing on the weekend, pal?
I got some plans with the family. Wife's got some meetings going, so I'm doing a lot of babysitting, which is pretty cool. And so I spend some time with the kiddies, and then I'll see when I've got a few minutes in there. I'm gonna bang on my guitar a bit more.
Play around a bit.
Yeah.
There's a seriously good fight this weekend.
You mentioned that, yeah.
UFC 284. Islam Makhachev is fighting Alexander Volkanovski. Paul.
Well, they're fighting in Australia.
In Australia, and it's gonna be epic. It really is. Give you a bit of background. Islam Makhachev he's the lightweight champion. This guy he's an absolute killer. All right, he's trained in the Nurmagomedov, so Khabib Nurmagomedov, his family. They're all from Dagestan. These guys. So just a bit of background on Dagestan. They're right in the corner of Russia. This town basically produces fighters.
Okay.
Right, they produce fighters. So Islam Makhachev comes from this town, trained by Khabib's father. These oaks are tough run. They wrestle bears out on in the snow in the forest. They swim in the freezing cold rivers. It's insane, okay? Now, the guy he's fighting, Alexander Volkanovski, is Australian. Now, he's regarded as the best pound-for-pound fighter. Okay. So he's been a lighter weight. He's gone up in weight now to fight Makhachev, okay? And interestingly, with Volkanovski, he was a rugby player. So he used to be quite a big guy, dropped a lot of size when it came to fighting in the UFC. But now he's picked up his weight so that they can fight each other. But Volkanovski, regarded as the best pound-for-pound, and Makhachev is the lightweight champion. So they're fighting in Perth on Saturday. Going to be legit.
100%.
So if you want to get into UFC is like what boxing was when we were younger. All the big fights are now on UFC, and it's really cool to watch. Now this Islam, he's just cleaned up. He's taken on the likes of, who did he fight? Charles Oliveira. A few months ago, Oliveira was a killer, and this guy just absolutely smoked him. And Volkanovski as well, just a superb fighter. Now, always with these fights, you never kind of know what time it's going to be because it depends on how the prelim flights go. But it should be probably, I'd say, early Sunday morning. It'll probably come on. But have a look on your DSTV and check it out there.
Yeah, make sure you hit me with a message and wake me up so that I can watch, because I'll be keen to check this out.
It's going to be legit. Look, you never know what happens in these fights. Now, obviously, the Dagestan fighters, they all into the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu type style, okay? Volkanovski's more of a striker, so he's got a hell of a punch on him, and he's going to come out with a hell of a lot of energy at the beginning. So he's going to try and knock Islam out. Islam's going to try and wear this guy down, get him on the ground, get on his back, and choke him out. So there's two different styles to this whole thing. But these guys from Dagestan, they are as tough as nails. They all have to cut their hair the same way. They are dedicated. They're disciplined. There's no alcohol. There's no cell phones. They're in camp there for a long time. There was a press conference the other day, and the Australians were saying this guy was rude because he didn't come to the press conference, and his answer was no, because I was training. So these guys just train, and as I said, Volkanovski, ex-rugby player and best pound-for-pound fighter. It's going to be a really, really good fight.
So reading between the lines here, you seem to be, I'm gauging that your money's on Islam.
All the smart money is on Islam.
Okay,
because if he gets him on the ground or he gets on his back, then his wrestling is you can't do anything. He's gonna get him in a choke and it's gonna be game over. But if you can't get him on the ground, or Volkanovski is quick to get back off the ground and start striking again, then it's a different story. So Volkanovski is the popular guy. He's the popular guy.
Yeah, he's the poster boy.
Yeah, he's the poster boy. They want, a lot of people want Volk, they call him, to win this one. But Makhachev is he's going to be one of the best, and he's tall, he's big, he's bigger than the other guys. So it's going to be a legit fight. Cool. If you haven't watched one of them before, this will be a good one to start with.
Yeah. No, I'm keen to check it out.
I'll
have a
shoot
look.
you a message.
Yeah, obviously something else to watch because there's no Formula One at the moment.
No.
Still another month to wait for that. And I think that's going to be an interesting topic when we get closer to that.
It will, yeah. Looking forward to the next season there. We'll have a chat about that, actually.
For sure.
Lots to do. I just want to mention a few things, and we don't always get to thank people on the air all the time. Patreon donations to the Bryan podcast. Fran Laidler, John Howell, Deano Jennings, Dale Williams, Duncan Gillespie, and Imre Kurucz. Thanks, guys. Couldn't do it without you. Your donations go a hell of a long way in supporting us, so really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we so value it and appreciate your support. And, to everyone that sits and takes time to listen or watch the show, thank you. Thank you for your comments on all the different platforms and engaging with us. It makes all the difference in the world. And it's why we keep doing what we're doing. Every week we come in here more for the good chat that we have and the hour or so that we get to break away from the the normal day-to-day responsibilities. But
I started off today with an important topic. I said you must do something that you don't always want to do. We don't always want to be here. I don't always want to be here. Sometimes it's easier to go to the pub.
Oh, yeah.
But this is one of those things that we have done that has had a positive influence on us personally.
Of course.
That's why I'm bringing it up now at the end. So you can't really always think about it. What do you do that you don't always want to do? This is one of those things. So when I posted that question at the beginning, I think a lot of people do things that does make them tough, does make them stronger, but maybe you don't always give yourself credit for doing that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all do these things. But you have to identify that, hey, I do this, and you know what? I'm going to tap myself on the back because I'm proud that I actually get up and go and do that thing. But I think a lot of people do things and they don't quite give themselves the credit for doing it. So sometimes you need to give yourself a little bit of a boost yourself to say, hey, you know what? Things aren't that bad.
Yeah.
And I'm actually probably a little bit better than I gave myself credit for.
That's sage, bro. 100%.
Have a lekker weekend, everyone.
Take it easy. Catch you next time.
Bye for now.
Ciao.
Remain this frequency 28 right echo, echo cleared for takeoff. 28 right echo cleared for takeoff, runway heading, we have with you, limit 3660. Yeah, 204, 28 right echo, echo line up and wait. 28 right echo, echo line up and wait, down at 204. EC 4103, contact Chicago departure. Good morning. That was 553, assumption less than 250 on another turn. Less than 250, just 553, 4. Tower runway 34. Runway 3494 for now, stand November short of echo echo, and we'll work that out. You can expect the full length for departure.